feature presentation.
Welcome back to another Untitled Movie Conversation. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rorabeck, alongside he's allergic to tomatoes, but he is tomato meter approved, Eric Marchen.
Matt, how are you?
Happy Disney Plus Day, or belated Disney Plus Day, Eric.
Wait, you told me that this was about DPs. I thought we were talking about Claire Matheson, who has who's cinematographer.
Glad you went that way instead of a different way. But
what way did you think I was going, Matt?
DP can stand for many different things.
Care to tell?
No. Happy Disney Plus Day to all of those who celebrate. Eric and I wanted to, much like we did with DC Fandom, we wanted to get together and talk
the films
about
of David Cronenberg.
Yeah. We wanted to talk about the Disney Plus Day event, which we will talk about, but was very weird because DC Fandom, while I don't think either of us tuned into the live stream that they had, I mean, or even the Netflix Tudum event that happened, they were both live streams. The Disney Plus Day event happened to be a Twitter thread and a Twitter thread only, and as well as a couple other specials that you could only watch on Disney Plus. They weren't on YouTube or anything like that. So a weird structure for the event, but ultimately it was the 1 year anniversary. Has it only been 1 or 2? No, 2 year anniversary. It had to have been. Right?
We've done
of
our
Disney
research
Plus.
here.
It had to have been.
It can't be more than. It can't be more than 2 years, but it doesn't feel that long either.
Yeah. So, anyways, the anniversary of Disney Plus. So Disney did an event where they announced a bunch of new movies, new shows. They also had a bunch of new stuff on the service. So you guys can check out our review of Home Sweet Home Alone.
Oh, dear God.
Which Eric and I reviewed, which premiered on Disney Plus Day, November the 12th. So you guys can watch that right now and listen to our review or watch our review. They also put up Jungle Cruise and Shang-Chi on the service for free. There's a documentary on Boba Fett. There's a couple other things that they premiered on the service as well. There are the IMAX enhanced versions of a lot of the MCU movies, which I think is a very clever and cool quality of life thing on Disney Plus, where also to entice people, they're the only way you can watch those IMAX versions at home. They're not even on the Blu-rays and things like that. So I thought that was very interesting.
That seems to be the biggest takeaway with all of this, right? Where like even though we're getting, new shows and programs in general announced, like it seems like, okay, like they're actually kind of paying attention to, their aspect ratios and kind of, using that as a selling point to entice, subscribers already, but also maybe get some new people to sign up. And I think that's kind of interesting in terms of just like, we were joking about it recently with, going to see Dune in IMAX where you just get to see more sand, where with this, it does kind of maybe add a little bit more to the frame, I guess.
And it makes sense for, what our aspect ratios on our televisions are at home, right? Like no one has a 239, like I have a 21:9 monitor right here. So I can watch movies in CinemaScope like 239 and it's properly masked on. If the service I'm watching it on, it gives you that feature, you can watch it in full screen, properly masked on that screen. But most people, your classic HD TV that you have at home is a 16:9 screen, right? So the digital IMAX aspect ratio, which isn't that full scope IMAX, which is why Zack Snyder's Justice League looks 4:3, right? Because your classic IMAX aspect ratio is closer to square than it is wide. So Disney's using the 1.90, right, is the IMAX aspect ratio, which is closer to your 1.85, classic, widescreen version of a movie. So I do think it is a great, way to use that extra real estate, especially with the casual.
Hey, Matt.
Yep.
It's free real estate.
Yeah. So, using that extra screen space that, typically would have black bars and, certain people who don't necessarily understand or casual moviegoers sometimes go, well, why the hell do I have these, you're wasting the screen with the black bars for this movie and not realizing like that's because it was projected that way in, cinemas, even though that's a whole nother conversation we constantly have of like why movies are still shooting in this format when they're not even properly being shown in that way, and basically have the extra real estate on the screen because no one properly masks their screens. That being said, I think it's a little bit of building on a brand name, right? Everyone sees the IMAX logo and the name and they go, oh, that's cool. IMAX enhanced. That must be better. But ultimately you're getting, in certain sequences, it's filling up your entire TV screen and using that, when they shot stuff in IMAX cameras. And I flipped through a lot of the MCU stuff, and it's a cool feature to have. I do appreciate that they give you an option to choose which version you want to watch. That is great. I think they learned from the Simpsons thing, that you should give people the choice and should show it in its original format. So sorry, Nevis is putting some things away in the kitchen. No, it's okay. It's just I want to let people know if
Well,
they
this
hear
has
something
even become
background.
a problem with Blu-ray and 4K transfers, where
Yeah.
you have films that, when they were made, they especially when they're shot on film, there's a certain amount of grain to them and what have you. And when they're being sort of updated or upgraded to a new format, the high
How much you
definition.
clean it up, right?
Yeah, so the people that are actually responsible for doing that don't look at the original print of the film or what the intention of the filmmaker or the
Sometimes they
director.
have filmmaker approved versions, but
Yes, yeah, and you'll find that obviously with like niche kind of boutique
Criterions and
companies like Criterion, but like when it comes to like a lot of the studio stuff, they won't even look at the original negative or the original broadcast if it's television, and it's sometimes upgraded to the point where, like, say like a scene is meant to be dark or shot at night, it's high contrast to the point where it looks like it's all shot during the day. So that's still very much a problem when it comes to physical media anyways.
yeah, I totally agree. And I'm making time codes. Sorry. Yeah. So like I'm totally, because I think some people don't like the switching aspect ratio. Because I had someone tweet at me being like, why wouldn't you just watch the IMAX version? And I'm like, well, like there are going to be people who are purists or want that. Sometimes you even have your home cinema if you have a projector or if you whatever, have it masked for 239 movies, which most Marvel movies are, especially these IMAX ones. And then they have select sequences in IMAX. It's not like the whole movie. I know Endgame is completely in IMAX, so basically it just changes the aspect ratio from 239 to almost 185. But most movies switch back and forth, which I know some people hate. They hate that, it's distracting. Like, I totally understand that. So I do really appreciate that they give you the option of choosing which version. I think it's a cool thing to have that we haven't really been able to have at home. I think a lot of these movies I haven't even seen in IMAX. Like a lot of our press screenings we go to, unfortunately, are in a regular cinema or in a AVX cinema. Don't ask me why. Like I'm very grateful we get to see the stuff, one for free and two early. So I never want to sound like I'm not grateful for that, but like I just like show it in the best theater you can. Why? Why? Or else you'll have the wrong aspect ratio for 20 minutes of the
And you'll have
movie.
film critics that
And
maybe, again, like, we're not saying that every film critic is not in tune to this, but sometimes when you're watching a movie, some film critics and some audiences will not realize that that's not how the film is supposed to look,
no,
and they'll think that's how the movie's supposed to look. And when you're writing a review for that film and that critic doesn't know that that's not what the intention of the
and
filmmaker
you go,
was, and
wow,
that's
the lighting was awful, or it was really dark.
yeah,
No,
we've
that was
we've
just a
come
shitty
across this a
projector.
couple of times with projectors, like even watching, something.
Both Shang-Chi and Eternals, the projectors were awful.
Yeah, so like there was something like the bulb, right? Like the bulb
The
was,
bulb was just hella dim,
and
and
the same thing with
I
Halloween Kills, right? Like Halloween Kills, there was something wrong with like the dimmer or something, or
oh no, yeah, we went to see Halloween Kills, just a public showing, and it was flickering.
yeah,
So there's two, like for Shang-Chi and Eternals, the bulb was just very dim. And it wasn't just us. I saw other people tweet it out and got the attention of Cineplex. But the one at Landmark for Halloween Kills was flickering, and I went to complain about that, and they were like, oh, "There's nothing we can do now. I'm not going to stop the movie." And I'm like, "You could, like, it's in the trailers. Like, you definitely could just stop it, but then
It's
you
too
don't
late.
want,
This train has gone out of the station.
I'm like, I know it's a digital projector. It's not like the olden days where you have to thread the film and you can't stop it halfway through. I'm like, you can just hit stop, fix it. But one, you don't want to acknowledge that there was a mistake, and two, maybe the bulb's too warm. They wouldn't be able to swap the bulb out. Whatever, I get it.
But then you did that as well at a recent screening, not for the ball, but for aspect ratio.
Yeah, we can't talk about the movie yet, I don't think. But like, we saw a movie recently, and there was a wrong aspect ratio. Anyways, we're going off on it, and I had to go out and tell them, and they fixed it actually. But
and then
that
Men in Black.
said,
it all goes back to Men in Black.
So anyways, and Spectre as well. We've had a bunch of bad experiences. So anyways, I like having that option at home because we don't usually see the IMAX versions at press screenings. And sometimes I do go out and see like a movie a second time because I want to see what it looks like at the Scotiabank IMAX or Cinesphere or something like that. Like, I didn't even love Eternals, but like, I might go to Cinesphere to go see it because I know it's in full frame IMAX for a good chunk of it. And I'd be curious to see what that looks like.
And that movie, again, uses a lot of natural lighting. So I could understand if like a critic or an audience member that sees it in a dimly lit, and they could think that that's how it's supposed to look when it's not.
Because I talked to Nevis and she was like, "Oh no, it looked great at Cinesphere." And I'm like, God, I got to go see it again. Even though, like, again, I don't think what's actually in the movies I might change my opinion on, but at
it's
least
still a slog, but at least give it the best
visually
opportunity you can.
So going back to the IMAX stuff, these are going to be great versions of the movies. And I think another added value thing for Disney Plus, like, I think that, and it is smart, but annoying that they're only on the Disney Plus versions. Like, those IMAX versions probably should be on the physical media thing, but you can kind of see even with this Disney Plus Day where they're putting all their chips. They want people to subscribe to this service. I don't think they really care that much anymore about people buying physical versions of their stuff or certain things. Like, their really thing is going to be go see the IMAX version in theaters. And now we have Disney Plus for this stuff as well. So
I wonder how many Disney Plus days we are away from the original versions of Star Wars being available only on Disney Plus. Yeah,
it'll happen. But I still think we're a little bit a ways from that, but I do think it will. I've heard there's rumors out there that there are 4K scans of the original movie that people have screened at Lucasfilm and stuff like that.
I almost feel like they're waiting till Lucas dies to like release those, because like Lucas is one of those guys where like he's been so adamant of like re-editing and upgrading his films that the versions that he wants or always says are the most recent versions are the best. And like, that's fine, but to your point, give people the option of watching the original ones. If I want to see the Sarlacc pit as a dirty anus, I will watch that version instead of having a beak in its mouth. So yeah, like,
I think we'll get that because you're seeing like, and I think that's one of the great things about Disney Plus. They're giving us different versions of movies, right? And I don't know if they have many director's cuts and alternate cuts on certain other movies, especially because we have Star here in Canada. Which
that was another thing as well, the censorship stuff that came up when it was before Disney Plus Star, right? Where like there were certain films
because it was a family service, so they blurred out a butt on like a beach or whatever.
Yeah, for Splash, and then also they cut out the F word in Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, which I don't think they're doing much anymore because of, trying to expand the service to not only be for children and families. So
could you imagine them editing Shame?
Yeah, it's on there. So anyways, the IMAX thing was the first thing because it came out like the day before Disney Plus, but the announcement came out earlier that week. So I think that's a really cool addition. Then yesterday on November the 12th, they kicked off things. There was going to be a Pixar presentation, a Marvel presentation that were only on Disney Plus. And then there wasn't a Star Wars presentation, but there was an Obi-Wan Kenobi behind the scenes, which did leak the day before.
How do
And
these things
it was
leak? Like
because it was like Disney in another country, Disney Plus star accidentally posted it to their YouTube
okay.
before. So it was like someone hit publish too early on another
So it
Disney
was an
Plus thing.
internal thing. It
It
wasn't like
was an internal
somebody.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
wasn't.
someone
It
accidentally
wasn't an Eternals thing.
no. So and then weirdly their decision to do it as a tweet thread brought out some comical things, like they forgot to untag everyone, so like Will Smith was being tagged in every Disney Plus Day thing.
They should have
after
just
he was,
released like a press
um,
release and one of them like after the press releases.
they
or,
should
like,
have
at
done
the
a
same
present.
time.
Remember Investors Day?
Yeah.
And like that was for their investors, but I felt like that presentation was better than yesterday's Disney Plus Day because they actually had everyone come out. It was a live stream. They'd have their important people come out and go, here's what's coming up for this brand, right?
Here's the latest
like,
celebrity we're putting in danger.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the guy from Nat Geo to tell you, which celebrity is going to do celebrities doing dangerous things. So, anyways, let's go through it, and we can a lot of it we'll just skip over or skim over because I don't think either of us have any opinion on a lot of it. But
I didn't even really
curious.
tune into any of it. To
So
be
cool.
honest,
This will
with you.
be. I'll get your first reactions.
I mean,
to
I
a lot
saw some
this,
of the
'cause
trailers and stuff after the fact, but when it was
Yeah.
actually happening, it wasn't like
I was
Disney
chilling on my
Investor Day
computer,
where,
so like,
to your point,
were-
where like
yeah.
you kind of feel like, okay, well, at least you have the live stream to go.
And I think
with,
if it was a live stream, you probably would have had it on, right? So
Yeah.
the tweet thread thing is weird, and I don't think it's a great decision. Even a guy who worked in social media management, that like, it's a weird way to do this. Like if you're doing a Disney Plus Day, like I didn't necessarily want to watch Fandom or Tadum, but I felt like you had a schedule, so you go, I'm interested in Star Wars, so
or
I
I'm
know
interested in the Batman with David
Yeah.
Cronenberg fandom.
Yeah, so you know what time to tune in to the live stream for that, right? Or Tadum, the same thing. I want to know Cowboy Bebop stuff, or I want to know Cobra Kai stuff, or whatever. This was just like, we'll tell you when things are dropping on the service for Pixar and Marvel, but other than that, you just have to keep refreshing a tweet thread. So, anyways, here we go. First announcement: Ice Age is coming back for a new series.
It's gonna be Buck Wild, baby.
Yeah, The Adventures of Buck Wild. So even though they killed Blue Sky, Ice Age does live. Never really cared about that franchise at all.
But it is very popular
yeah.
with children, obviously, because there's been 4 or 5 features
Oh
in
yeah,
total.
yeah. Ray Romano still making bank.
Hey, everybody still loves Raymond.
So don't care about that. Big Hero 6 is getting a spin-off series about Baymax. Love that little inflatable bastard. So
I wish it was called Byways, though.
Yeah, it looks cute. Again, not necessarily.
It kind of looks like
something
what
I'm
you'd
gonna-
expect, like or what Doug Days is, or whatever that was.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily going to, I might watch an episode or something, but I don't know. We're getting a new Cheaper by the Dozen movie, which I think we might have known about, but it's streaming March 2022 on Disney Plus. So,
I think it's Gabriel Union and everybody's favorite Scrubs, Zach Braff.
Great. Oh yeah, it was them. Yep. You are correct.
Why do I know that?
Amy Adams and Patrick Dempsey announced that Disenchanted is coming in the fall of next year, and you can now stream Enchanted, which I don't know why it wasn't on the service beforehand. Was there some weird rights issue? Or,
Maybe it's something like where like certain, even like with Disney Plus, it's just a streamer thing where it's like some things are curated before others and they just never got around to it.
Yeah, so you can now watch Enchanted in prep for Disenchanted next year. We're getting a new Diary of a Wimpy Kid animated movie on December 3rd. Haven't seen any of those. It's a little past our time of being a kid.
Yeah.
I was never a Wimpy kid, so
I've been to Wimpy's.
I have been to Wimpy's. Doesn't he kind of look like this? Is it based off? No, I don't know.
I don't think so.
So this is Roderick Rules. Is that? Yeah. Roderick Rules.
I mean, if it was O'Doyle Rules, I would know what we're talking about here.
A new trailer or a clip from The Beatles Get Back, which is the Peter Jackson. Originally was going to be a movie. Now is a 3-part series.
I thought it was 4-part. Is it 4?
3-part.
Oh, it's 3
3.
part.
Yeah.
So that's going to be every boomer's favorite
My dad's pumped.
series.
They were
Oh
talking.
yeah.
I went to a family event at my uncle Mark's yesterday because he's been away shooting a show on the East Coast. So he was back for the weekend. So everyone's like, "Oh, come down to Mark and Dana's for a little get together, have some Greek food and hang out." So it was nice to talk to my uncle again and talk movies and stuff like that. But I heard a conversation behind me, which was the older men talk about the Beatles Get Back and how they were all excited for it. So
It's like
um
it's just so like I love the Beatles, but it's gotten to that point. It's like, what aspect have we not explored of the
yeah,
Beatles, or like what angle? It's like, have we seen everything from like a 30-degree angle that we possibly can? Can we find a new thing to exploit for fans to buy into? As long as you put the Beatles on it, somebody
I
will
love the
buy it.
Beatles too, and like I will watch
Oh,
this.
I will as well, but it is such a
Um
boomers thing.
Oh, absolutely. We got a little didn't get much, like we already knew about the movie, but we got a Chippendale Rescue Rangers little thing from John Mulaney and Andy Samberg. There's a poster which shows like a little mini script and so I don't know. I like it based on who's directing it. I think isn't it Yorma Tacone or is it Chippendale Rescue Rangers Disney Plus. Or there's someone whoever's directing it. I was kind of intrigued by, because I think it's the Lonely Island guys. Um, but anyways, like both of those guys, I have no idea what this movie will be like. Akiva Schaffer is directing it. My bad. So, and they did some stuff on the Lonely Island feed. So, like all those guys being involved in it makes me kind of intrigued. But if it's anything like Hot Rod, I'm in. So,
Or even weirdly like Land of the Lost, which was a really
yes,
strange
underrated.
adaptation. Yeah.
Not a great movie, but it's weird, and
Yeah.
I think did Yorma or Akiva direct that as well?
Well,
I think?
Yorma's in it. He plays like
Yeah,
one of the cavemen
yeah.
that Will Ferrell comes across.
Yeah. That movie I remember liking and everyone being like, "You're out of your mind," and it got terrible reviews. And I'm like, guys, this movie is weird.
It's been a while.
I recently watched it a couple years ago. We got a announcement for a movie called Better Nate Than Ever. Have no idea what it is. Sure. First image from Hocus Pocus 2.
Great.
Sweet. We got a announcement that Pinocchio is coming in fall 2022, which is the live action remake directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring
Bobby Z.
Tom Hanks, Cynthia Erivo, Luke Evans, with voices from Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Hopefully he's French. Keegan Michael Key and Lorraine Bracco.
Now, do you think that Chris Pratt is jealous of Tom Hanks, that Tom Hanks gets to play Geppetto?
Then we got some Nat Geo stuff. So we got a couple celebrities putting their lives in danger. We got both of these series look exactly the same. One is called Limitless with Chris Hemsworth. And
not based on the Bradley Cooper movie.
Yeah. You know what? Both of these look, and then we got Welcome to Earth with Will Smith
and Darren Aronofsky's on
producing
board with that, right? Yeah.
Limitless.
He's not. I thought he was doing Welcome to Earth.
Or is he doing both? And that's why they look exactly the same. Sorry, I have to mute this while I go through. I know he's doing the Limitless one, but I don't think Welcome to Earth is also Aronofsky, is it?
I thought it was the opposite way around, but you could be right.
A Zootopia production with Westbrook Studios Academy. Oh yeah, no, Aronofsky's both of them. That's why they look exactly the same.
Okay. So Darren Aronofsky putting celebrities' lives in danger.
Yeah, they both, the trailers almost look exactly the same. I have a screenshot right now that both says Academy Award nominee Darren Aronofsky on both series. So, okay, you got a couple Nat Geo Darren Aronofsky produced series that look exactly the same. One with Chris Hemsworth putting his life in danger and one with Will Smith putting his life in danger. Both look exactly the same. Both look, I think I like stuff like this, and I probably will throw a couple episodes of these on just to kind of see how they are. I'm totally for it, and I love Darren Aronofsky. So, and I like both Will Smith and Chris Hemsworth. When you have good personalities doing stuff like that, I think it makes it
And as you said,
more
you and Chris
watchable.
Hemsworth are basically the same person.
Yeah, I mean, same physique, same
Both from Australia.
looks. Yeah, very Australian. Definitely, I am a thrill seeker. I definitely love danger. Not terrified of dying. All that. Although he talks about how he's afraid of dying, so that we actually do have in common. We got another series on Nat Geo called America the Beautiful, streaming in 2022. Americans love talking about how great their country is. Eric, your most anticipated in the movie of 2022, Sneakerella, is premiering on February 18th.
Great.
Which is a remake of Cinderella.
Will it be better than the Amazon version? We'll have to find out.
They both look like interesting takes, that's for sure.
But only one has James Corden in it.
Never say never, man. The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, an original series, is streaming February 2022. I heard people like, I guess this is bringing this. Do you know what this is? The Proud Family? Like, it's an
No.
animated thing? I don't know either. It seems like it was a thing before that they're like bringing back or something.
Or maybe they mentioned it in one of the other, because there is some sort of overlap with stuff that hasn't been released yet that I think was mentioned on the Disney Investor Day or previously that was in development.
Yeah, this might have been like the Proud Family might have been like a Disney Channel show or something like that. I'm not sure. We're getting season 3 of High School Musical, the series. Looks like it's going to be based around Frozen. We'll just skip over that because I know neither of us care. New live action Spiderwick Chronicles is coming to Disney Plus, a series. Did you ever read Spiderwick Chronicles?
No, I saw the movie, which I don't remember too much because it was that time where like Narnia was successful, so a lot of studios were doing those kind of not necessarily young adult fantasies, but the children adaptations.
Fantasy books,
yeah. Bridge to Terabithia. You had that. There was a couple other ones, but the only thing I remember, I think it was it Freddie Highmore that was the lead in and it was Paramount that had it originally, as well. But Andrew McCarthy was in it. Weirdly enough, that's all I remember from it.
We got a little tease, an introduction to the new cast of Willow. I don't care about Willow.
I liked the original Willow movie, but I don't really care about a series.
So Warwick Davis went around and introduced the new cast. Some people you recognize like Tony Revioli and Aaron Kellerman, and I did go see Willow recently at Lightbox a couple years ago. I had to support my boy Ron Howard.
Ron's gone wrong.
So, but I don't care about Willow at all. There is a new documentary on Boba Fett, like I mentioned, which is available now on Disney Plus. So kind of prepping you for Book of Boba Fett later this year. There was a exclusive behind the scenes look at Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I mentioned leaked. Eric, did you watch this?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
It's your typical, like, we're very excited. We brought back this. It like didn't really
Ewan's back, baby, and he's going to be fighting Hayden Christensen.
Like we got a little bit of Hayden like training he's got with some a lightsaber.
Sweet tattoos now.
Yeah, he does actually. He looks cool. And we didn't get much. We got some concept art and I thought we might have gotten a trailer, but we did not. So that's
especially because I think it was O'Shea Jackson
who was like, I thought there was going to be a trailer.
Well, he was saying like, I can't believe I'm in the trailer.
Yeah, no, he's like, I'm in this, and I was also waiting for the trailer.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think he was just like, where's the trailer? So, then I was mad that there wasn't a Larry the Cable Guy trigger warning because he randomly appeared on my screen to tell me that there's a new Cars series.
And it's based on the movie T10.
Good God. It's called Cars on the Road. Owen Wilson and Larry the Cable Guy are returning to voice Lightning McQueen and Mater. I should start
Little
saying
kids
you're
will like that. So
Mater Meter approved, Eric Marchen.
no, don't.
Uh, there's going to be full-length documentaries on both Turning Red and Lightyear
Now
coming to Disney
this is
Plus.
something that I think needs to be mentioned. So both Lightyear and Turning Red are still going to be theatrical only,
As of
right?
right now, but there are rumors that Turning Red could be Disney Plus and Lightyear as well. But as of right now, they are both theatrical movies,
Okay,
which I hope they stay that way.
because since the pandemic, all of Pixar's movies have been available exclusively on Disney Plus, and it's not a premium for those films.
Yeah, it's not a premiere access. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see. I hope they stay theatrical, but we'll see. Then they showed a little bit of art from Win or Lose, which is a new animated series coming to Disney Plus. I liked it. It had a connection there because it's about, coach dad. My dad coached a lot of my hockey and baseball as a kid. So I have, like classic Pixar, there's some sort of emotional connection there to my childhood and things like that. So we're getting a Zootopia Plus series, short form series. So I think that's kind of like the Doug Days thing that you were mentioning. We're also getting a Princess and the Frog spin-off series focusing on Tiana, which I think is cool because I think that's a Disney movie, their last 2D animated princess movie. And I think it's quite good. And Tiana kind of gets a bad rap in that movie because she's a frog for like 75% of it. And so I think it's cool that doing a series and having her come back for that is cool. A series called Intertwined. I have no idea what that is. Traveling through time can get a little twisted, especially when it's to 1994. Oh man, we're already getting time travel series where they're only going to 94.
Good year. It's a good year.
Oh man,
go back to see Pulp Fiction for the first time in theaters.
Yeah. Jurassic Park, or is that 95?
I thought it was 93.
93.
Yeah, because
So they can
Jurassic
watch
Park
it on
and
VHS
Schindler's List
already.
were 93.
Yeah, they can watch it on VHS already. Then we get into the Marvel stuff, and they kick it off. There was a whole 15-minute video where 12 minutes of it was just footage from other Marvel stuff. It was
Right.
like, it was
I
so
thought it was
silly.
just Kevin Feige yelling about or getting ready to destroy John Campion.
No. I don't know if you watched it, Eric, or if you
No, I
just saw
didn't.
the new stuff. I'm sitting here and Nevis came over to watch it, and I'm watching and I'm like, they're just showing us stuff from WandaVision, like 3 minutes of it. And I'm like, they're showing us stuff from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm like, the fuck is this? Like,
I gotta pad this thing out, baby.
I'm like skipping through, and you had to go to 11 minutes before they showed you an extended clip from Hawkeye. So they show you a car sequence from Hawkeye that looks awesome. Can't wait to see that show.
We'll have a review of the first 2 episodes coming soon.
Very soon. I think next week the embargo is like right before it comes out. But then they start announcing new stuff. So we got some clips in that sizzle reel, we got the first kind of teaser for Moon Knight and She-Hulk. Those were the 2 new clips we got, right? Did we get anything else?
Yeah, and it's weird because Moon Knight to me looked almost like a fan-made edit of something you'd find on YouTube from like somebody who took other clips from other movies and kind of put them together.
Sure.
And then, I mean, the thing that people are taking away is that Oscar Isaac is doing an English accent.
But here's the thing about that. He has like
multiple personalities, right?
So,
which I get that, but it is interesting that Marvel decided, okay, out of any voiceover that they could use. Yeah.
Because like I'm assuming he'll have many different voices in the series.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that is the one that they go with.
Well, especially for a character that's like, if you knew, like if he was a Spider-Man or an Iron Man that people were familiar with and they knew that already, I think more people would be okay with but
a lot of people are focusing on the accent when the accent might just be one of the personalities he has, right? Like, and because that's why it didn't bother me, because I was just like, he's it's an accent. He'll be doing a lot of those, I think, in the series, and I'm kind of like okay with it because I don't know a lot about Moon Knight, but I did read a little bit of Moon Knight when they did a revival series about 10 years ago when I was getting back into comics. And I'm intrigued by that. Obviously, I love Oscar Isaac, and like we got our first little clip from She-Hulk as well. I love the title treatment that kind of looks like Boston Legal or things like that with the city in the
Well,
background. And like,
somebody made a really good
um,
joke online that it's like like it's probably the most fierce use of pronouns with she and
yeah,
Hulk.
yeah, that's good. I love that. But I really think that could be funny if it's satirical in nature towards like broadcast television kind of
If they do a
like
Celino and
y-
Barnes-esque ad, I am
something like
all in.
that, and that's what it kind of looks like, right? At that moment where you see them in the 4x3, kind of almost in the WandaVision style
And it's
time
also paying
travel kind of
tribute to the
thing.
original Incredible Hulk series. Like somebody
Yeah,
online posted like a side by
a
side of the
side by
Bill
side. That's
Bixby
great.
series. Yeah.
And that's great. And I think that if they also satirize those broadcast television legal dramas, I think that could be really fun.
Or again, like I keep
And like,
mentioning, like when we've talked about it before, like Harvey Birdman, but in the Marvel
yeah.
world.
And that's what I think it's going to be, right? And I'm sure there'll be a little bit more action and stuff like that, obviously. But that could be really fun. And we only saw a little bit of it. And then we
And I'm just
started to get,
excited for Tatiana Maslany as well. Like,
yeah.
having done an interview recently with, casting people, one of which was her casting agent. Like she has been to so many of these auditions where
Where
like
she's always like number 2 or
yeah, she's
3 or
always on
something.
like two
Yeah.
or three of these casting lists and never makes it through. So it's nice to see her get something post Orphan Black that
Where
will
she's
probably
so
be
good.
really,
Yeah.
yeah.
We did get a little bit of Ms. Marvel, and then I think that was it for the live action stuff. And then we got a whole bunch of announcements for new Marvel shows. Kicking it off with X-Men 97. And I think something that was rumored, because I remember about last week, I think, one of those. Here's the thing: you get a lot of these random like fan sites that will post these things and being like exclusive. I know that there's an X-Men 97 revival coming, and we're like, yeah, okay, all right, sure. Until a trade reports it, like a Hollywood Reporter or a Variety or the Wrap or whoever, you kind of take it with a grain of salt, right? You're like, I don't know if what you're saying is totally accurate. There might be a grain of truth there, but who knows if that's true. So there were rumors that this existed, but I think what surprised me about it, I love that they used the Wolverine looking at the photo thing. That's really funny. And great. But Marvel Studios X-Men 97 is so interesting to me. Of like, it is produced by Marvel Studios. It is going to be a continuation of the 1990s X-Men cartoon. A lot of the cast is coming back. The original creators and stuff are going to be consultants on the show and things like that. And it's just going to pick up where the series ended. And I think that is it's something we see in comic books a lot. Like they're doing Batman 66 and they're doing Batman 89 right now on DC Comics, like where they're continuing those universes in comic book form. But I think it's so cool. They must have noticed on Disney Plus when they put the X-Men cartoon that it did really, really well. Just people going back and watching it, where they're like, we should just make new episodes to this. And I think
Which is
with
also weird because that original run, that original cartoon series covered a lot of what X-Men has covered, like in terms of what the series was and what, and like, what even the film adaptations have covered, like a lot of that was there.
yeah.
So I wonder what
So
will be new.
what to cover now, and like,
Yeah.
and it leaves it open a huge possibility with the Marvel Studios branding of and multiverse stuff of like crossovers with What If or other animated things like
Because that
what
also
the
crossed over with like the 90s Spider-Man
Spider-Man. Like,
series.
are we
So.
going to get a Spider-Man 98 series? Because I would love that. But then leading off of that, so that's exciting. We're getting a Spider-Man animated series through Marvel Studios called Spider-Man Freshman Year. And it's going to be we've seen it 100 times, but we are getting another Spider-Man origin story.
Will
But
Uncle
this
Ben
time,
die again?
he will. And I'm curious of, are they going to get Marissa Tomei, or who are they going to cast as Uncle Ben? And I doubt it'll be Tom Holland. I'm assuming it'll be the guy who played Spider-Man in What
And
If.
What If? Yeah.
Which I think he did a good job in What If, as the Tom Holland Spider-Man voice. I'm assuming that's the route that they will go.
I was hoping for Gilbert Godfrey.
I love the art style. I shared a photo on Twitter because in the sizzle reel thing, they have a thing where it's the logo rips and they show the image of Peter Parker, and it's got this retro kind of 60s Spider-Man look, but looks also very modern, and I love how it looks. So it looks like 2D animated, and I hope that's the look that the series will have, which really will differentiate it from X-Men 97 or What If. And it looks like this animated arm of Marvel is really going to take off. And I think that's just so interesting. And going back, Eric, to ask you about X-Men 97, do you think they go 4:3? Do you think they go 16:9? Like, is it going to look like
They'll probably, maybe they'll have both. Maybe,
they'll probably
we've
do
been talking
16 by
about
9,
that,
but
but
yeah.
maybe for like, you know, for fans, maybe they will have,
Yeah.
the classic standard
As
definition,
long as you
because
block it that it works in 4:9 or 4:3, then it should kind of work in both
yeah, because going
cases.
back and watching a lot of the 90s Spider-Man this year, um, that was one thing I did appreciate, that the blocking was, of the standard definition, and, you still
Hmm.
had that kind of square aspect ratio. But again, like, there's stuff where with that Spider-Man series where, Spider-Man, there's one sort of, series of episodes where he's slowly turning into, he's morphing into the actual mutant spider.
Which is what
And
they wanted to do in What If, but they said no.
yeah,
So,
and he actually goes to Charles Xavier and the other X-Men to get their help at one point.
and I know there was a lot you mentioned. There's a lot of cameos from other Marvel heroes in X-Men the 90s series. So I'm wondering, yeah, do they continue to do that? It's going to be so cool. And then continuing in animation, super excited for that. Uh, Although the one thing about the Peter Parker freshman year thing is like the Vulture is the first villain. Like we know it's the first villain that Peter faces, right? So like how long can that show go on? Because we know that's his. We know he'll have the Spider-Man suit that he creates himself, which is kind of the wrestler Spider-Man suit that he has. So like I'm wondering, will you have street level villains that will be interpretations that Peter did kind of face, but they weren't like the big Vulture? I can
Will
have
we
all this
get
technology.
another version of the Rhino that's close to Paul Giamatti without like an
Yeah,
exoskeleton?
yeah, something like that. I don't know. It should be
I'm the
interesting.
Rhino.
And it's technically in the MCU, so will we see other events? Like maybe we finally get confirmation that Peter, I know it's freshman year, but they could do flashbacks and stuff like that, that Peter was the kid from Iron Man 2 at the expo or whatever. Things like that. Like that's what intrigues me about that show, but I don't know how
You
long
could
you
get
can have that.
Kingpin and stuff like that,
Ooh,
where
that's
like you
cool.
you
Yeah.
have characters, like, to your point, like more grounded villains or Hammerhead or things like that, where they're like, they're characters that are still threatening, but maybe they're
But they
not.
weren't supernatural or like
No.
or so bombastic like the Vulture, like world ending kind of things. Not
Yeah.
world ending, but like bigger than just very street level. I think bringing in what's his name from Daredevil as Vincent D'Onofrio and having him come back as Kingpin could be really really cool, because
And
there's
that
already
would also be a
rumors of
great
that.
nod to the 90s version, because Kingpin was central to all of the villains and sort of
Yeah.
storylines within that series.
Yeah, so
Um,
that could be really cool. I like that. And then the last animated thing we got, or sorry, we had I Am Groot, which is going to be an animated series that's going to be in the style. It's fully CG, but it's going to be like lifelike CG, like in Guardians. Like Baby Groot will look like Baby Groot in the Guardians movies. It's just going to be fully CG. Um, then Marvel Zombies was the other animated show that got announced, which will be a spin-off of What If. So it's the first What If spin-off series we're seeing, where I thought something like a Captain Carter or something would have maybe been the first thing, but I'm thinking that maybe they'll lean more in the live action territory
I
for
think that we
that.
could see that character even pop up in the next Doctor Strange film.
Yeah, and I think you're on to something there, where I think some things from What If will be pulled out and put into live action, and then certain things like zombies will continue as a series. So, um,
Well,
yeah,
also you
get
have the because Gail Garcia Bernal was just recently cast for the Werewolf Marvel special,
yeah,
which I
Halloween
almost feel
special,
like
yeah.
that could kind of be connected to that, or like you expand that with, Blade coming, and now you have the horror supernatural sort of elements or characters that could be a part of the MCU. So the Marvel Zombies, the Marvel's Werewolf, Blade, even Black Knight. Like it feels almost like those characters are going to be a part of that section of Marvel.
Yeah, some people think that they are leading into Midnight Suns, which is more in that supernatural kind of spooky realm of Marvel. That I think there's like a team there with Ghost Rider and other people that could join
Midnight Suns,
that crew
here
of
you
God. I just
come.
want Nicolas Cage to pop up in
Ghost Rider?
Multiverse of Madness or something. I guess he's played a couple Marvel people because he's also played Spider-Man Noir, right? But
Yeah.
so that's it on the animated front. Also, What If season 2 is coming, so a lot of stuff on the animated front. Then on the live action front, we got announcements that we're getting an Echo series. So Echo will, I think, in Hawkeye, is going to be a character in Hawkeye. So she is getting her own spin-off series,
And that is another
really
deaf
cool
character as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's great. We also, stuff we already knew was coming, but they were showing them again. There's a new logo for Ironheart, which looks more like the Iron Man 1 logo. And
that's also supposed to spin off from the new Black Panther movie, right?
There
Isn't
are
she a
rumors
character?
that she is in the new Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
So I think that she will debut in that movie and then potentially move on to this series. We got an announcement that we are getting an Agatha Harkness spin-off series from WandaVision called Agatha House of Harkness. This one I'm a little mixed on because I don't know if I necessarily needed. And I love Catherine Hahn. I thought she was great.
Well, Jack Schaefer's returning too, who was the showrunner for WandaVision,
WandaVision.
as a head creator on this, right?
So really, this is our season 2 of WandaVision, essentially. This might be a prequel series. We don't know. Like it could. Agatha, obviously. Spoilers for WandaVision. Everyone has been around for a long time. We have flashbacks to the Salem witch trials.
But Agatha was also a good guy in the comic books. She was actually
more to
Wanda's mentor. So maybe this is almost like a combination of almost like a Better Call Saul thing, where it's like both flashbacks to her origin and kind of building that
post WandaVision, where she's kind of aloof, like in her.
Yeah, but then she comes into her own and basically comes to be the anti-hero of.
I think she might be part of the Dark Avengers or the Thunderbolts that they're doing too, right?
Even like if they're going to set up what you mentioned with Midnight Suns, right?
Yeah,
like she
Midnight
could even
Suns,
fall into that
could be part of
category
that.
too.
That's
right?
true. Yeah. Then we got a new look at Secret Invasion, so a new logo that has more of the Skrull look to it, and then we got a cool new look of badass Nick Fury with a beard and no eye patch. So bless Samuel L. Jackson, gotta love him,
just making that money.
Good for him. So that was the Marvel stuff, and I think that wrapped Disney Plus Day. Am I missing anything there? No, I thought
there was something else from Marvel, or was I mistaken? I don't know.
I don't think so. Pretty sure that was it.
Okay.
I'm looking through this little sizzle reel that they had. I was surprised we didn't get more from Star Wars, and I clicked on a video and it was way too loud. I'm surprised we didn't get more from Star Wars. The one thing we did skip over, especially because we're in Canada, so it does make sense for Disney Plus, is that they announced some 20th Century Studios stuff. We are getting a Predators prequel from Dan Trachtenberg,
which is called Prey. Originally called Skulls.
Yeah, and it is taking place, far in the past. I think an indigenous woman is the lead, right?
I think it's the Comanche tribe.
And cool concept, is a white dude directing it. So, hey, and it's going straight to streaming. So
on Hulu, so it'll be probably
Hulu,
here,
Star here.
Yeah.
So intrigued because obviously we're big Predator fans, but like,
it sounded weird.
It sounds weird. Yeah. It came out.
We're big fans of Predators,
but I don't know. I think that also falls in the category like we talked about with Ghostbusters and things like that.
Well,
Where
it's it's
um,
so like the first movie's great for what it is, and then like
the second
I
movie
think
just
we like the
sweaty,
second. Oh,
sweaty.
so
It's so
sweaty,
sweaty
so
in
sweaty.
4K especially.
Oh man, I just want to watch it now, but so sweaty. But it's fun. But those movies like Terminator stops and starts, and they're not really a great franchise, and obviously those movies were placeholders for the horrible Alien versus Predator films. So
Oof.
so we'll
And
see how this
then
does.
yeah. And there were a couple other 20th Century Studios things, but that nothing I really recognized. And then the other things that were on the service, Dope Sick premiered, which is a Star thing. It's on Hulu in the US. The Simpsons short film plus anniversary, where they have a bunch of Disney characters meeting at Moe's Tavern for the Disney Plus Day thing. New season of World According to Jeff Goldblum. Some other stuff.
All your
New
favorites.
Yeah. So that was Disney Plus Day. Overall, I obviously excited about the Marvel stuff. I think some things caught me off guard, like the Spider-Man animated series. Really, really intrigued. Um, the Agatha Harkness series. I'm like, okay, I'm excited for Secret Invasion. I liked the Marvel Zombies episode of What If, so I'm excited for that. Ironheart, I think, is a great way to continue the Iron Man franchise without Robert Downey Jr. Really like the Riri Williams characters from the comic, from what I've read. And then Echo, obviously, I want to see that character in Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's interesting that they kind of announced that right away, that they you're going to now, like, if you followed the thread, or if you're listening to this, or if you've seen that in some way that it's been announced, you're going to have so much more attention to that character, and thinking like, okay, like obviously they feel that this, because she's a big deal in the comic books though, right, as well, like it's not just like, oh, they thought like the character works really well in this particular TV series, like she actually, I'm asking you, Matt, like specifically, like Echo is like a character in the comic books
Yeah,
then?
it is. I'm not very familiar at all, really.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely, like, I've read that Hawkeye run that they are basing the series off of, and I know a big plot point is that Clint loses his hearing. I don't think that's a spoiler. They've kind of, I mean, even in the clip that they showed, he says like to Kate that he can't hear her. So like, I think that's a huge plot point. So that's probably how Echo is somehow introduced in this. And I'm intrigued. I just don't know much about that character, right? And like the Marvel stuff's obviously what excites me the most. The rest of the stuff, obviously Obi-Wan. I wish there was more Star Wars stuff, because there are a lot more Star Wars properties. It's weird that they didn't do what they did with Marvel and even just said, "Oh, these are still coming," just so you know.
I think it's
Um,
because it's in flux a little bit, because wasn't it announced that Patty Jenkins was kind of on hiatus with Rogue Squadron
oh, I didn't see that.
recently, to kind of focus back on Wonder Woman 3?
Oh, really? I didn't see that. So I know that's not a Disney Plus thing even, but like I
But
meant
in
like
terms of just like Star
Andor
Wars
and stuff
stuff,
like
and
that
yeah.
too, but like didn't hear. And then the other Disney stuff, it's cool. Disney Plus is a great service, and they have a lot of, hashtag content, and that will continue. A lot of Marvel stuff. The tweet thread I don't think was the best idea. I think that uh they should have probably done like a live stream or something like that. Like I remember the Disney Plus Investor Day being so exciting, even though it's a fucking investor presentation. That having Kevin Feige come out, or having Kathleen Kennedy come out and like talk about the different, or even Bob Iger
Well,
or
if
whoever came out.
it felt more like it was, you were getting all this new content being announced for the first time, where this is more of like an update of things that you already pretty much knew was coming around, and it's just kind of basically reconfirming that, and then adding a couple of extra little things that maybe weren't announced. So maybe part of that is the surprise isn't really there for a lot of this. It's just kind of like, oh, this is where we are with this now, and this is, confirming that, it will be coming out next year. Or and
Yeah.
especially like with the Marvel stuff, because of with the rescheduling of a lot of their films in 2022, with Doctor Strange now going to be a spring, or yeah, late
May
spring,
instead of
early summer
February or
movie.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like some people are also kind of questioning, like, okay, well then how does that affect like something like, Ms. Marvel, because we have the Marvels now coming out in 2023 instead of 2022. So
And
does
Miss
Ms.
Marvel was
Marvel,
originally supposed to be this year,
yeah,
and now we thought it would be early next year, but it's going to be spring of next year. So,
which is also going to
um,
be interesting because that is going to probably connect directly into the Marvels. So, once you have Ms. Marvel, out as a series on Disney Plus, how much time you're going to be waiting for quite a bit of time to have that kind of, next episode or next film, right? And I guess you could compare it to WandaVision, right? Where
yeah,
WandaVision leaves you
introduces, yeah.
hanging because you're basically waiting for the Doctor Strange movie
Oh,
to
that's true
continue
too.
that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. I think it's a cool thing that I'm sure they'll do every year, but
But I'm also confused with that because it's like, okay, like when do they do, like, didn't they do Disney Day, or like Disney, like they had a Disney Day in general that was almost like their version of Comic Con, and then now they're having a Disney Plus Day, but then you
well,
also
they
mentioned
always do
the invest,
D23, then
yeah,
they do
Investor Day as well.
D23, then they do an investor day, then they sometimes do Comic-Con. It's like D23 is only every 2 years, I want to say. Don't, hold me to that, but I think it's every 2 years because I remember what years they would go to Comic Con with stuff, and then sometimes if it was a D23 year, they would save their stuff for D23, but they probably haven't done D23 stuff in a while because they probably haven't, had an in-person event. So yeah, it's a little bit in flux. I just feel like they need to look at, and again, a lot of video game companies don't do it perfectly, but they've been doing this kind of online presentation thing for a while, where Nintendo Direct, um, Sony does them too, and Xbox does them too, where every couple months they have a little event where they go, here's what's coming up this quarter, essentially, right? Like for the next 4 months, here's what we have, here's some trailers, here's some announcements and things like that. And it's packaged in a nice, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 45, sometimes it's an hour. And I think they can learn from those kind of things, and they're not always great. And maybe it's not every quarter, maybe it's just once a year. But and I think these might take place instead of Comic Con because I don't know if that really has a lifespan anymore. Maybe, but um, especially when you don't need to get talent in a room and stuff like that, you can just have them do videos and things like that. Like I think that's the future of this kind of stuff. It's just I think the presentation and the package needs to be a bit tighter. A tweet thread feels so ancient and a weird way of doing this where I feel like give me a schedule, tell me when you're going to announce different things and when you're going to be talking about different subjects. Put it on Twitch, put it on YouTube, put it on other live streaming platforms, have a host, like get one of your people to host it, whether it's an MCU person or The Rock or whoever. Host the whole thing and then have your other people come on and introduce stuff or present your new slate of films. And um, I think they're still learning on the film side of stuff to do that, and on not even film, I guess streaming side of things. But I think these are cool events. I think there just could have been a better way of doing this one.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even really know that this was happening, and I feel like maybe that was also
Most
a
people are just gonna, yeah.
miscalculation in terms of like, if you want to advertise this or have people tune in that maybe are not sort of in the weeds when it comes to the industry side of things, or just within the film industry that are specific to this corporate stuff, like maybe advertise that a little bit more consistently, where like I feel like, to your point with like some of the video game stuff, it almost feels like they know to advertise when and where, and sort of keep people in the know for as long as they need to, where this kind of felt, again, like I had no idea that this was coming up, and I was also confused what it was, because I thought
And
it was D23 for a second, and then I also
No.
thought, like, is it
It's an
another like
anniversary
investor
day.
and like, yeah.
And even me, who's usually really on top of these things, like I'm usually the guy who will be like, I know exactly when things are happening, what it is, where I need to go, what I need to watch. I was even confused, dude. And I'm good at this shit, and I'm good at, like, I like the excitement. I like watching this stuff. Where I was like, I don't even know is there a schedule for this thing? And they're like, we're gonna start tweeting things out. And then I had some people reach out being like, oh, they actually said that the Pixar thing's dropping at 11 and the Marvel thing's dropping at 11:45, but that's it. And I'm like, there needed to be a better way to,
It's like time codes for podcasts or,
yeah,
edits.
which
You
I
need to know when to
definitely
come in and when out and come out.
good point, because I took one time code and then totally forgot about the rest of this conversation.
That'd be amazing.
So,
It's like, yeah, we have the one time code. That's all
the
you
one
got.
time code is at 0 minutes. We start talking about IMAX enhanced, and then I totally forgot about taking time codes for the rest. I will get better at that. So I'm criticizing Disney, who is this giant company. We're only two men, two guys doing this. That I sometimes screw that up. So I definitely screwed up time codes. So you'll just have to listen to this whole podcast to hear all of our thoughts. But thank you all for listening. As always, my name is Matt Rorabeck. You can check out our other shows around the internet. You can just search for us. Untitled Movie Podcast will probably pop up on YouTube. You can search Untitled Movie Podcast, Untitled Movie Reviews, or Untitled Movie Conversations over on podcast services, depending on what show you would like to listen to. Our main show, we talk about episode 106, our trip to Los Angeles. We went last weekend for a 1-day trip. We talk about our whole adventure there. Over on reviews, we have reviews up for Ghostbusters Afterlife, spoiler free, Home Sweet Home Alone, Red Notice. So you guys can check out all of that. And then over here on Conversations, you're in the right spot. We will have a Ghostbusters Afterlife spoiler cast right here on Conversations after it is released in theaters. So you guys can check that out as well. Your one-stop shop for everything, just go over to our Letterboxd, which is Untitled_cast. If you want to follow me, I'm on all of those social medias at Matt Rorabeck.
And I'm Eric Marchen. You can find more of my video reviews at rogerstv.com/cinemascene, and on the social medias at EM6211.
Until next time.
DP, baby.
God fucking damn it.